Wow. I seriously cannot do intro videos at all. Like, I'm so bad at it. But anyway, so in this podcast, I was lucky enough to interview Jared Jacobs, aka at Gold Yeller. He is super awesome, super nice guy, really easy to talk to. And the reason I wanted to talk to him is because he has pound for pound one of the sweetest jobs in the entire world. He gets to make Lego stop motion and animation videos for all different types of sports leagues. He's done stuff with the PGA Tour. He's done stuff for the Big Ten football, college football conference. He makes videos for the NBA. He's done stuff with the Golden State Warriors. Right there, baby. Let's go. But super interesting. I just wanted to really talk to him about how he even got into this profession and what the future has in store for him. So I really hope you guys enjoy this podcast. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for doing this. This is so cool.
Yeah.
So first of all, just wanted to ask you, you watch the Super Bowl and are you going to work on anything regarding the Super Bowl?
I mean, not unless I get paid for it.
No, yeah.
It's all paid gigs now. So it's like back in the day, yeah, I would have. Here, let me drop this. So tired out.
Yeah. I just saw the post you made. It's pretty sweet. It's really cool, like seeing the whole entire process of like everything you do. It's pretty insane.
Yeah, that was a fun one. I almost didn't take that job.
Oh, really? For the tennis?
Yeah.
Why not?
I didn't know what it was. I didn't whenever somebody asks me to sign an NDA before I even know what we're doing, I'm usually hesitant to do that.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, is this going to be a waste of my time?
Yeah. Okay. So wait. Yeah, that's cool. So I have a question. So when you are doing when you get a partnership, because I know that you've done stuff with golf and the Big Ten and stuff, when you do that, how do those partnerships work and stuff? Do you just basically do it on your own, or do you get help from the production studios with those conferences and organizations kind of?
Yeah, it's all, I mean, they'll usually provide me the audio on most of them.
Oh, that's
it's usually whoever their team is. They reach out through DMs. Like Instagram's pretty much been, I don't even post my email anywhere. It's all DM. No, not a lot of people know my phone number. I kind of keep it low key. That's just because I've experienced a little bit of fame and I'm like, I don't really know if I want to be like a public. I haven't decided yet if that's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just like to stay low key, and people are like, you should be posting more. And I'm like, I don't really know if I want to be.
Yeah.
Because I know people who are like famous YouTubers, and I'm like, I don't know if I want that in my life.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. It's a lot, but it's pretty sweet though, because your social media and stuff, I feel like the job that you're doing is pretty unique in the sense that you're pretty much like one of the most famous people that does stop motion with sports and stuff. So, I mean, people are kind of stuck. So, I mean, if they want to do it, they have to go to you anyway. So it's kind of,
right.
You're in a good spot.
I've kind of carved out a niche where I'm like the guy. I mean, there's people who are better at stop motion than me by far, but not all those people understand sports like I do.
Exactly.
And even stuff like tennis, like when I did US Open stuff, I didn't know much about tennis. I knew that my mom liked tennis. And so when we were kind of going back and forth and negotiating what they were going to pay me for it, I was like, can I bring her to the US Open with me?
Sweet.
And they were like, yeah, totally. And so that was like what sealed the deal. I'm like, all right, well, if they're going to bring us out to the US Open, and that's like a dream come true for my mom.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm like, I at that point, I was like, I don't even care what they pay me. Like just that experience alone is going to be priceless.
Exactly. So yeah, that's because going through your Instagram page and everything, and even the sports you do, you have such a freaking diverse amount of sports that you seem to like. So have you always been kind of like that, or has some of your love for some of these sports grown because of the job that you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely grown because of the job. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about NASCAR either.
Yeah.
When Daytona reached out.
Yeah.
Well, NASCAR, like the company reached out originally, and we were trying to do something together. And then when Daytona reached out, I happened to be in Charlotte for something else, and that's where NASCAR headquarters are. And so when the main guy for NASCAR saw that I was in Charlotte, he's like, "Hey, you have to come to the Hall of Fame." He's like, "We need to talk."
Yeah.
And so then that kind of sealed that deal. And then I was able to go to like the Daytona 500, which is like the Super Bowl of NASCAR. And
Yeah, for sure.
I never thought, like, I grew up in Canada. We didn't have, I mean, we're a different kind of redneck in Canada, you know? We're not the Southern rednecks. And I don't even really know what redneck means, to be honest. Yeah. I just kind of, I'm just kind of along for the ride, but it was crazy to go there to Daytona and kind of see all that. I don't know if you want to call it pageantry, but just to be kind of immersed in that culture. It was nothing like I had ever experienced. And it was actually kind of cool. Like being able to go to like the drivers meetings and like Dave Portnoy is like sitting up front with like Julian Edelman. And I'm like, I'm in the same room with these people. So then I go and talk to them after the drivers meeting is over. And I'm just like I was more excited to meet Dave Portnoy than I was Julian Edelman. And Edelman had just won the MVP of the Super Bowl, but I was like, I don't really care.
That's insane. What would you say that your number one experience has been, like, that has come from your job? Because that's pretty freaking sweet. You get to do, I mean, you get to basically go to everything. Like, it's so crazy. You to go to golf events. I mean, the NBA finals. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Going golfing with Kevin Na was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would say probably the coolest thing, I think it'd be a tie between going to the NBA finals in Oakland when the Toronto Raptors are in it. And I grew up in Canada. So I grew up in Western Canada. So I wasn't like a huge Raptors fan, but I was like, if I'm going to cheer for a basketball team, it's probably going to be the Raptors. So to be able to see them play the year that they win the finals, probably the only year they'll ever win the finals, if we're being honest.
Hey, they're kind of long and lanky now. They're kind of nice.
Yeah, I mean, they are. But if we're being honest, like realistically, I think that's, and even seeing like the super teams that form, I'm like, are they going to be able to beat the Lakers, the Clippers? Like, there's so many good teams out west that I'm like, there's like 4 or 5 teams that I think could legit beat the Raptors. And I don't even know if the Raptors would have won had there not been injuries on the Warriors, because the Warriors were a dynasty at that point that were just destroying everybody.
Exactly.
But like, if KD's out and Klay Thompson's out, yeah, it's anyone's game. But if Klay and KD are in that, there's no way that Toronto wins. Like, not as much as I'd like to think that they would. No, even they know that.
Yeah. You're a big Jazz.
Kawhi knows that. Kawhi knows deep down. He's like, I got lucky. So if KD,
the same can be said too when Kawhi went down when he was on the Spurs. That would have been a completely different series too.
Exactly. Yeah. Once he went down, that just changed that entire series.
No, yeah,
so it's funny how sports works like that. And it's like, even seeing Tom Brady win another Super Bowl, you're like, there was a lot of things that had to happen in order for him to even get there.
Right. Exactly.
It was kind of serendipitous. It almost seems like it's rigged or something. I'm like, are they trying to get that guy? Should we make up some conspiracies and just add to what's already out there? Not that I really care, because I'm not a diehard fan of any NFL team. Everybody thinks that I was like a Chiefs fan because I was like, dude, I got paid to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, I made this for work. I didn't make this because I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm actually a Raiders fan.
Really?
So yeah, I'm like, if I'm going to cheer for an NFL team, it's going to be the Raiders, just because they're like
division rival.
And it didn't even go. It wasn't even about that. It was probably just because all of the like LA rappers were talking about being Raiders fans, and I thought that was cool growing up. You know?
Yeah, exactly. You're a big Jazz guy, huh?
I've become a bigger Jazz guy. Like, I'm pretty close in proximity to the Jazz. I live in Boise, and so I did a project with the Jazz. And then I've become friends with the Utah Jazz Bear, like their mascot. We've done some content together, and he's such an awesome guy. And so they've kind of endeared themselves towards me. It was cool. Like, the Warriors were awesome as well. Like, to be able to go out there and kind of see their whole operation behind the scenes. I was just like, man, there's a lot that goes into this, and it's not like just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Like, these people know what they're doing.
Yeah. You got to go right before they moved too.
So I saw one of the last games in Oracle.
That's freaking awesome. That's so sick.
It's like, looking back on it, I'm like, I didn't really appreciate like how cool that was. It's like if you would have saw one of the last games in like the Forum when like Gretzky's there or whatever, you know, like or seeing like the old school Kings play in the Forum, like that's something that people took for granted, but it's cool to think about that now.
Yeah. So you played hockey and stuff?
Yeah, I played hockey growing up.
Yeah. Do you do hockey stop motion? There's some sport you do?
Yeah,
okay.
I have. I did some stuff with the NHL Network
Yeah, okay.
really early on. And then I work for the minor league hockey team here. I do like color commentating. So I'm like the guy who's down in between the benches.
Yeah.
That is just kind of like the comic relief, you know, that just says stupid stuff. And
how's that been? Is it pretty? I feel like that stuff comes pretty naturally. You're pretty outgoing.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's right in my wheelhouse. Yeah. And I miss it. We're not playing this year because they didn't play because of COVID. And and I've really been missing it. I didn't think I would miss it as much as I do, but yeah, I miss that. I miss being able to go and just that camaraderie too with sports that brings. I mean, I'm sure you being a sports guy, I'm sure you know how that goes where you're just like sports is something that brings us together, and it's like, even though it's somewhat barbaric and who knows how long it'll even last in this politically correct culture that we live in now, people need sports. Right. Even just for the getting outside. Like I've become a huge fan of golf. Yeah. And even more so over the last couple of years, especially with COVID, because that was pretty much the only sport I could get out and play was golf. Exactly. And now that I'm older, I'm like, that's what I want to play. I love golf, and I'll probably start doing more stuff in the golf realm. The project I'm working on right now is golf related, and I like working with the PGA Tour has been one of the coolest things. So, and kind of what's come from it, like just having like professional athletes like DM you, and you're like, wait, you're a fan of what I do? Like, I'm a fan of what you do. So you kind of have that mutual respect. Mm-hmm. But like I suffer from that imposter syndrome where I'm like, I'm just some like homeless looking dude that's literally like in a closet making these, like, granted I'm surrounded by Lego and it's like every kid's dream, but like this wasn't my dream as a kid. Like I didn't even play with Lego as a kid.
Yeah, that's really, so I know, because I was listening to a bunch of your interviews, and one of the things that was pretty sweet and why I wanted to talk to you is your whole entire process of even coming to this point. It seemed like you didn't even think about this because you didn't really play with Legos. And then when you went to school, you were all over the place with your major, right? And
I ended my major as like university studies, like the dumbest major that you could possibly. It's basically like 3 minors. It was like communications, Spanish, and business were my 3 majors that I didn't really major in any of them. And so I just came out even more of a like college idiot. I might as well have just dropped out. You know what I mean? I'd rather just be a college dropout.
Well, it's kind of, everybody's kind of in the same boat right now anyway, because school is absolutely ridiculous right now. Just online classes. I can't even imagine. It's a joke. I'm taking some of this communications class, and I have to record myself doing a presentation, but it would otherwise be an oral speech in front of a class. So it's not even the same experience whatsoever. You know what I mean? You're not getting the same skills at all, because the whole part of communication and everything is talking in front of people and getting over that kind of, stage fright in a way. And you're not even getting that when you're just recording yourself. You know what I mean?
Well, and the thing that I love about people like you, like, granted, we don't know each other, right? But like, just from like the small amount of time that we've spent talking. Yeah. I love that hustle and that grind where you're like, you know what, I'm going to make a podcast and I'm going to talk about things that I want to talk about. And who knows where it's going to go? Mm-hmm. Like maybe you become the Joe Rogan of sports and you're just like, dude, I started this in my college dorm room. Yeah. Like, or however you started it. I don't know much about it. Yeah. But like anybody that has a podcast and they've put out a bunch of episodes, like I have mad respect for that. And I'm like, I kind of, I'm almost envious of it. I'm like, why didn't I do something like that? Why wasn't I a hustler? We didn't have those types of things at our disposal like we do now when I was your age, but still, like I could do that now. Who's to say that I couldn't? You could literally start that right now. Like you can do it over Zoom. All you have to do is reach out to people and like
be lucky enough to have someone like you come on.
But then you get this crazy Canadian on that you're just like, with what he does, and how did this guy make a living out of playing with Lego? And it's
yeah.
I mean, I don't even know. It wasn't something that I sought out.
Yeah.
Just kind of being one of those ADD kids that like, I just kind of like the thing about, they talk about ADD as like a disorder, but it's almost like a superpower. It's like,
100%.
I have the ability to do like hyper focus type stuff. But like when you come up in the school system, you're treated like an idiot. Like literally, they're just like, your test scores aren't good. Your reading comprehension isn't very good. You can't focus for more than like 2 minutes. But it's like, no, I can focus if it's something that I want to do. I can hyper focus if it's something that I really want to do.
That's insane.
And so, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what it would be like going to school right now, though. Like,
yeah, for sure,
that would be brutal. I'd be like, I don't know how you kids do it. I have a lot of respect in many ways for that type of stuff. But I think, I mean, if the universities don't get it figured out, it's going to become less and less of a priority. Where when I grew up, it was like, that's what you did. You went to school, and if you dropped out of school, you were a failure. But now it's like, I'm not going to pay this kind of money to like learn online. Like I can watch YouTube videos, figure out how to do my own podcast. This is essentially turned into a business for me. You know, like I'm making more money than I'm going to make if I go out of school and go work for some hedge fund.
No, 100%. Because you literally, I mean, social media is what propelled you into where you're at now. So it's kind of crazy. If you get like big on YouTube or something, you can say screw school, basically. Honestly,
right? And if I would have if I would have had that. Like if I was in your shoes now, I don't know if I would do that.
Right.
Like it's taken time to get to where I'm at, and
100%.
And it's like, but that might be the next step. I might be like, you know what? Why am I not just making YouTube content? And then I can just work for myself. Maybe I'll just become like some golfer who brings like a whole different twist on the game of golf. And maybe I like teach people how to sneak into the Masters. I don't know. Like you can literally make any kind of content.
Yeah.
I mean, that might get shut down by the guys at Augusta, and I don't want to piss off the people at Augusta because I would love to play that course. Yeah. So if they're listening, anybody from Augusta, I would love an invite. But if you don't invite me, I'm going to try to figure out how to sneak in to your establishment.
But high key though, your end product can basically be the YouTube content anyway of what you do. So,
right. I mean, and I need to get better at that type of stuff. Like when I get done, like some of the golf things that I do, we're talking like 100 hours of work for like a 30-second video when it's all said and done. And so once you're done, you're just like, I don't want to edit more content on top of that. But it's like, if this doesn't perform well, then you feel like you just wasted like half a month of your life where you're working, like burning the candle at both ends.
On average, what would you say some of your projects, like how long they take? Because I assume they probably differ, you know?
Yeah, I'd say if I was going to average it out, I'd probably say about 60 hours per video.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, some can be shorter. If it's just like a little 10-second piece, like some of those I can do in like 8 hours.
How much do you knock out at a time when it's that big? Do you just try to grind it out since you...
Yeah, like the golf ones, when there's a bunch of crowd involved, like sometimes I think that there's something wrong with me. Like, I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, am I just a glutton for punishment? Like, why am I beating myself up, like moving like 200 minifigures each frame? But it's part of my process.
Yes.
And it's what makes me stick out. Willing to do things that most sane people wouldn't do. And so I think that kind of sets you apart from other people. You know what I mean? Like some people might think you're for having a sports podcast. They may be like, oh, that's cute, but it's like, what if that leads to, I mean, that's obviously going to lead to something.
Yeah. It's
even if it's just stuff that you learn along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Well, because even if this doesn't blow up or whatever, it's still practice for maybe broadcasting or commentating down along the line. You know what I mean?
What is it? What do you want to do eventually? Like, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Basically, maybe I was doing like nutrition at Oregon State, but then learning chemistry and biology online is just a crapshoot. So
Really?
I changed it to, it's like digital communications arts and stuff. So basically it could lead to maybe a job at Pac-12 network or just broadcasting or commentating. And I really like doing stuff like this. It's fun. Like talking to people like you that talk about that, like sports, like it's so much fun to me. I feel like, I don't know.
What's your favorite sport?
Oh, I'm a big UFC guy. Have you made stuff? Cause I was going to ask sports that you don't.
Not yet.
Are you gonna?
There could be a potential to do some UFC. I will just say I had a conversation with somebody recently where we might be able to do some UFC. I'm hoping that I do. I've been approached to do boxing stuff before. Mm-hmm. That doesn't get me as excited as UFC. I love watching the UFC. If I could do if I'm doing like some Jorge Masvidal knee to to his head and like knocking him out, like that's my favorite fighter right now.
What do you think the biggest challenge is when you're doing UFC, where everything is really based on joint movements and you only are kind of limited when it comes to Lego guys?
Yeah. And that's one thing that I don't know either. Like, I think a lot of these things, I just kind of have to figure it out as I go. Like, mm-hmm. and that's part of what loving what you do does. Cause I like those challenges. It's just creative problem solving. Like, how am I going to do that? It may get to the point where if we're doing a flying knee, I might take like a minifigure and like chop the knee in half.
There you go.
And then like put it in like a pie section and then end up putting it together so that it looks like the knee is coming out.
Sick.
Like, I don't know how I would do that. I'd probably have to play around with it quite a bit to do something like a flying knee, but I've always, that's something that I've kind of thrown out into the ethos. I'm like, I want to recreate that. And usually when I want to recreate something, like the Dame Lillard shot was a perfect example. When that happened, I was like, I'm going to, nobody's paying me to make it. I'm going to make that though, because I know it's going to generate a ton of attention. Mm-hmm. And it was just an awesome moment that I'll never forget.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
I was just watching.
I don't know if you're a Trailblazers fan, if you're living out that way.
My buddy.
Oh, you're a Warriors fan.
Yeah, I'm a Warriors guy, but I do a podcast with my buddies and they're big Blazer fans. So we kind of go back and forth.
Yeah. See, I mean, the Warriors.
We're kind of nice this year, not going to lie.
Dude, it was awesome to see the Warriors play. And when I went to a Jazz game too, as part of the deal that I did with them, that was the game that I picked. I was like, I want to see the Warriors play, but it was like a depleted Warriors team. I don't even think Steph played in that game. And so it was kind of, I've seen him play so many times before though, but that was the game that I picked where I was like, I'm going to come down and take a few friends to a game. And they're like, yeah, pick whatever game you want. And so I picked the Warriors. I probably should have picked the Lakers because they had LeBron. I've never seen LeBron play in real life.
Oh, really? Dang. Yeah. I'm still salty because the Jazz smacked us around a couple of weeks ago. They got up like 30 plus points.
Dude, the Jazz are good this year.
No, the ESPN's rankings just came out. They have them at 2. And we were discussing this, me and my buddies, and that could be maybe a little high considering the 76ers and stuff. But what do you think? Do you think 2's right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
their shooting's wild.
I think if they keep playing the way that they're playing, it's almost like they've started shooting more.
Yeah,
that's what it seems like.
Donovan
and I haven't followed him for a long time.
Yeah,
so I don't know like kind of the nuances of the game like I used to. Mm-hmm. But kind of watching it from a bird's eye view, I'm like, their shooting is just phenomenal, and having the defensive player of the year. Whether you think he should have been the defensive player of the year or not, like he's done it twice.
Yeah. So
obviously he's doing something right.
Right.
And I don't know. I feel bad for Rudy because of all the flack he got from being the author of the coronavirus.
The spreader of
like the guy's just making jokes, and then all of a sudden he's like a martyr because he like breathed on a camera. Like, come on.
I remember that.
People, like settle down.
I know.
And then when the NBA shut down, everything shut down.
No, yeah, I know.
So that was kind of weird too. I was like, NHL's going. I remember the players was happening at the time. And I'm like, that's done. Like they were the only ones, golf was the only ones that were still like playing. And then they're like, oh, we're going to do it without fans. But then once the NBA canceled, they're like, crap, we're gonna get canceled if we like literally cancel. People will just like, I don't know. Everyone's so afraid of getting canceled nowadays. I'm like, whatever. It's coming for everybody. We're gonna go down this political correct environment. Everybody's getting canceled.
Yeah. Were you concerned at all, or were you thinking maybe I'm gonna have to start doing some throwback stuff, or what?
I would legit, like 2020 was a tough year for me because a lot of things fell through that I had lined up.
Yeah.
And I got to the point where I thought that I was going to have to do something else. I was like, I can't make this work anymore.
You weren't thinking about doing vintage stuff at all? Yeah,
but like nobody was paying for it. There was no money.
That's true.
So it was like, I might have to go be a UPS driver or Uber Eats or you know what I mean? Like I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do. If this keeps going the way it's going and like corporations aren't spending money, like that's how I make my money is they pay me to do these types of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was watching an interview you did with BYU Idaho guy, and you were talking about, it was kind of during the beginning of COVID, probably, or not the beginning, but it was in the summer, like August. And you're talking about how you wanted to start, maybe it sounded like you were starting to do getting involved with music videos and stuff, and maybe wanting to use live subjects. Have you started doing anything like that since things have kind of mellowed out?
I did a music video that I can't even talk about. Still hasn't seen the light of day. And that's the other thing too, is concerts all got shut down. So it was like, I thought that might be another solution to the problem, but if there's nothing to promote concert wise, it's like, that's how musicians make all their money. Like it's going on tour. And so if they don't have a tour to promote, they're not going to pay a guy like me to make a music video out of Lego for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did one, and I hope it sees the light of day because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's freaking sweet.
And it was for a really big artist. So
yeah.
We'll see if it ever sees the light of day. Who knows?
Yeah, hopefully. What about live subjects?
What do you mean?
You mentioned something about maybe you wanted to incorporate that too. Because you were saying I think you said something about how you might not want to do Legos for the rest of your career.
I mean, as far as live stuff, I think I would like to do maybe YouTube content where I'm like putting out videos. Honestly, I'd really like to get into the golf world. Like I'd like to start doing like guys like GM Golf doing things like what they're doing. I just think that's awesome. And those guys are young kids and doing what they're doing, I think is really cool. And I think you just tell yourself like, who's going to watch me? Like, how entertaining do I have to be to get people's attention? Because there's so many people just screaming for attention in all directions. So it's hard to stand out.
No, yeah, 100%. Really quick. So I know I'm a big Niner guy too. And Zach Wilson's all over. Okay. So you're BYU. You're Boise State guy.
Yeah.
What's your
Boise State guy?
What's your honest opinion of Zach Wilson and how will his game translate into the NFL? Is he legit or are people kind of reaching low key?
So, if you talk to BYU fans, he's legit.
Yeah.
I watched him play in the Potato Bowl where he did not throw an incompletion. I don't remember. They were playing like Western Michigan though.
Yeah.
So I don't know. When I saw him play against Coastal Carolina, and just seeing those guys beat up on him, and this is Coastal Carolina, like this isn't like Alabama, but those guys got inside his head, and so he's got to get through that. He's got to figure out. He's probably never been bullied like that in his life, and so that's what's going to happen when you get in the NFL. So if it really depends with quarterbacks. It depends on who. Now it's almost like they want him to play right away, and they want him to be really good right away, like Patrick Mahomes. Everybody wants the next Patrick Mahomes, but there's only one Patrick Mahomes. And we saw how he got bullied last night, So it's, you have to kind of adapt in those situations. And I don't know how old school the game is going to stay. And so that factors into it as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He is a legit quarterback. And I think if he gets in the right organization, I think he can do well. I don't know if he's going to be the next Tom Brady,
Yeah.
But nobody thought Tom Brady would be the guy that he is. People like still they still don't respect Tom Brady the way that they should.
Oh no.
Like I saw something where all these like talking heads were talking about how Tom Brady is like a dying breed and he's not going to be able to do it this year. And then surprise, Tom Brady just won the Super Bowl again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 100, because some people will come back and say he had like a super team around him, but at the same time, he's the one that attracted all those guys because he's so great anyway. So you can't really knock the guy at all anyway. So yeah.
That T-Mobile commercial that he did with Gronk was my favorite one.
Oh, I showed my mom that because I saw that was the best one. Don't you think?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it was
by far. And just Gronk saying, "Mom, get my football pants. Where are my football pants?" Like 100%. I just love that line, and just like that was genius. And a lot of people kind of strayed. Like a lot of big companies I heard didn't even do Super Bowl ads that usually do Super Bowl ads.
Yeah, just
because of the climate that we're in right now. So everybody's afraid to say the wrong thing. I thought T-Mobile did an awesome job. It was like, and I think that's going to be what sets people apart as well. Like you see guys like Joe Rogan kind of going against the grain and saying whatever it is that they feel, and then moving out of California to Texas because of the madness. I think you're going to see a lot more people like that those are going to be kind of the people who lead this next generation, where it's like, that's what people are begging for, is like good leadership.
Right. Have you been approached for commercials?
I mean, this Kia commercial that I did with Australian Open is probably the first like commercial thing I've ever done. I've been approached for a couple where like me as like a personality is in it. I haven't done any of those yet though, but I may, that may be something that I do. I like it. I mean, I really do like putting my personality out there, even though I just kind of am like so insulated. It's tough. You want to be able to interact with people and you can't, and that can't just all be done online. Like eventually it's going to have to be face-to-face interaction where you can actually see the person's whole face, and like
whole body,
their body language.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get back to that eventually and not be afraid of a virus. And I mean, I get it that people have lost lives and that's sad. But I mean, people, that's what people do, is they die, but you also want to live. Like I don't want to be boxed into a tiny box for the rest of my life. And that's how I live. I'll turn into like Tom Hanks from that
Castaway.
I haven't even seen that show, but I'm assuming that's what I would be, because I already kind of have the look of the homeless dude that's stranded on an island.
So kind of going back, when you were when you were kind of balancing out your actual job with doing this, how difficult was that?
That was brutal. I was the marketing guy at a lumber company, and this blew up for me. It was the Tiger Woods at the Masters was the one that really like took it like across the globe viral for me. And then
would you say that's your favorite one that you've done?
I don't know. I mean, looking back on it, it's kind of cringy because I was filming that on my phone, compared to what I can do now. I'm like, that was crap. Yeah. Like I almost wanted a redo of that because I'm like, I could do so much better now. So maybe one day I will. I don't know. It'd be cool to actually do something with Tiger where he's like a part of it. Like maybe where I'm like his like Lego caddy and I'm like teaching him how to like move the Lego. Like I think that would be kind of a fun, like talking about commercial stuff. Yeah. I think that would be awesome to do something
that'd be freaking sweet.
Like Bridgestone or somebody is like, oh yeah, let's do that. That's a great idea. Like, I think something like that would be fun, but I don't know. That was kind of the one that set me off. And then that's when like Big Ten Network reached out, like Pinehurst reached out, Bleacher Report reached out, wanted me to do like NBA finals. I just said yes to everything, like not even knowing what I was worth and that these are going to generate millions of views. I didn't know that at the time. Like I was just kind of riding that wave. But it almost got to the point where I was where I was burnt out because I was like, with Big Ten Network, I had to film one video a week, and they were taking like 40 hours to film, and I still had a regular job.
That's insane.
So basically I was working 2 full-time jobs, not sleeping. And it got to the point where I was like, excuse me, I told my wife, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I love doing this and I love the attention. But I was like, I can't keep doing it if if it means I don't get to sleep. Like, this can't be healthy for me. So
was it tough?
I think it was the Golf Channel that reached out, and they wanted to do like 6 videos around the British Open, or the Open is what they call it now.
Yeah.
And it was just enough money that we could like make it work for a little while. And so I was like, if I don't jump now, I'm always going to look back and regret. And I now don't want to live that way. Like, I don't want to be in an old folks home trying to dodge COVID 26 or whatever. And
26.
COVID 46 or whatever I'm going to try to be dodging in the old folks home. Hopefully not in New York City.
Yeah.
I just don't want to live that way. Like, I was like, I don't want to live a life of regret. And so I'm like, I'm just going to go for it, and went for it. And I thought it would last like 6 months.
Really?
And I think it's been over 3 years now that I've been doing this full time. And even with 2020 being the year that it was, where I thought maybe this is the end, it's not. Like, it's starting to pick back up again. And it sucked because COVID hit right when I was like the GameStop stonks, I was like to the moon, and then that wiped it out. And now it's the wheels are starting to turn again. And hopefully it's getting back to some sense of normalcy, whatever that new normal is. I hate that word, new normal, because I'm like,
it's not going to ever be.
I want it to just be normal. I don't want it to be a new normal.
Exactly. That's why
I want normalcy. I want to be able to go and sit in between the benches and color commentate for hockey games. I don't even get paid to do that. Like, I volunteer to do that. I guess I could get paid if I wanted to, but I'm like, what are you going to pay me? Like $50 a game? Like, I'm good. It's a minor league hockey team. I just love it. And I've been around that organization this would have been my 18th season doing stuff with them.
That's awesome.
But we didn't have a season, and to have last season get cut short, that was a real bummer too, because it was a team that we were destined for greatness. And I was like, we're probably going to win the whole thing this year. And then that happened. And I was like, now our whole team's gone. Yeah. Like, we're going to have to start from scratch again. So that's kind of, I do not envy our head coach or our assistant coach to have to go out and recruit these players, because minor league hockey is
brutal. I don't really watch hockey at all. It's kind of interesting talking to someone that really likes it. You played it and stuff growing up.
It's crazy. It's the same with, it's the same if you wipe out the NCAA with basketball. If you don't have anything feeding into the next generation of talent, it's tough.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, and also with the NCAA, with guys being able to go to the G League and stuff, that's gonna be a massive hit for sure.
Right. Well, and I think there was one player that went to Australia. He was like the most highly touted player. I remember hearing about him on Barstool, and like, Pardon My Take or something. Mm-hmm. They were talking to him, and he was like, I'm not going to go to college. And he was being recruited by like Kentucky and Kansas. And he's like, I'm going to go play in Australia. And that's what LaMelo Ball did, didn't he? Yeah. Didn't he go play did he play in Australia or somewhere else?
He went to Latvia, right? And Lithuania or something like that. And then he went and played in Australia or something.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And I don't envy even college coaches. I was really bummed about NCAA though, because last time the tournament came to Boise, we usually get the first round of the tournament like every 4 years. Mm-hmm. And last time it came, I was a locker room attendant. So like, I was the guy who kept the media out of the locker room after a win or a loss.
Yeah, that's sick. So you're like security.
So I'm like in the Gonzaga locker room as they're celebrating a win, Wow. And like Arizona came. That was back when who's the big guy that came out of Arizona?
Ayton.
Yeah. That was when he was playing. Kentucky was there. And so they were supposed to do that again this year, but now they moved it all to Indianapolis. And so I was looking forward 4 years. Like I've been waiting 4 years to be a locker room attendant again, because it was awesome. You're like sitting courtside at every single March Madness game. And that's my favorite time of year is March Madness.
Who's your favorite college basketball? Is it just Boise State too? Or who's your favorite like big time college basketball team?
I grew up cheering for North Carolina when I was a kid.
There you go. So you're in the tournament almost every year.
Yeah. And that's like even back. Yeah. I mean, Michael Jordan played for them before I was really into basketball. I got into basketball when I was about 11 years old.
There you go.
My parents couldn't afford to put me in hockey anymore. And so I played basketball for a few years. And I really liked it, but hockey is what I've always loved. And so once I was making adult money and then I could pay for my own gear and own ice time, I got back into hockey and never really looked back.
Yeah, hockey's insane.
I don't even play basketball anymore. Like I'm too old for that. I'll roll my ankle or like screw up my shoulder, but hockey I'll play.
Yeah. You see freaking Tom Segura, that wipeout he had?
I didn't see it.
You haven't seen that? When he went up for a dunk and then just fell and then he broke his freaking arm and leg. Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, I'm too old for that stuff now. Yeah. I don't even go do shoot around anymore. I like watching it though. Like I really love basketball. College basketball is one of my favorite things though. Like that March Madness tournament, I love it. That was when I did a recreation for my daughter's birthday, when Villanova beat North Carolina. Yeah, that was like huge, and that was another viral moment where then like I'm getting interviewed on Sports Center like
that's
the
insane.
Day the tournament starts, and it was nuts. It's me and my daughter. I'm like 6 o'clock in the morning on Sports Center, and that was a moment that I'll never forget. But that was all from basketball.
Yeah,
and I make my kids fill out brackets so that they'll watch the tournament.
Yeah, that's sick.
And I'm like, whoever wins gets to pick where we go out to dinner to celebrate or whatever, And so it was Villanova and North Carolina in the final. And I remember she had picked Villanova and I had picked North Carolina.
Dang.
And she didn't know anything about Villanova. She just picked it because she liked how it sounded. She was like 11 or she was 10 at the time.
Yeah.
But I just remember watching her watch that game and how into it she was. And I just thought that was so cool. So then the next year for her birthday, I remade that final shot, even though I'm a North Carolina fan. I'm not a huge homer for North Carolina. Like I don't really care. Yeah. You kind of become less of a like fanatic with these teams as time goes on. At least I have, where I just don't really care. Like I'll pick the team that I think I want to win, but if they lose, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Cause you're spending 70 hours sometimes staring at one team and trying to get the players right and everything. I bet that's kind of just, I don't really want to look at this logo or team anymore right now.
No, actually it's not. Really? I've never gotten to that point where I'm like, I never want to see that play again. Sometimes I'll hear the play and I'm like, oh, I know everything they're going to say before they even say it.
Sick.
But I mean, I like the commentating that goes into it.
Yeah.
Like I like everything about it.
Yeah.
I like that I've been able to merge that, like, and I've become like a huge fan of Lego. I mean, if you look behind me, it's like everything is Lego. Everything in front of me is Lego. Like it's just, it's consumed me now. And I've become like a Lego snob where if it's not Lego, like I'll throw it away.
Yeah.
If I got Mega Blocks in like a big shipment of Lego, like if I go to the thrift store and find like a giant tub of Lego for sale and there's Mega Blocks in it, I just toss the Mega Blocks. I'm such a Lego snob now, and I never thought I didn't think there was that much of a difference, but there's a difference.
Yeah,
and adult fans of Lego know the difference.
Yeah, that's what I hate is I wish there was more sports themed Lego stuff. Because what's the process like when you're creating some of these custom pieces? Because you can't just buy the stuff that you have, right?
No, I mean you can.
What do you?
It's like
how do you do that?
Like I've got, like it's to the point now where I get like custom printing on, like this is like a Kevin Na Lego where it's got like his logo on the back and that's like on the front, and like Dylan Fratelli, and like NBA players I have and NFL players where I'll get it. Like I spend way too much money on this stuff.
Yeah.
Like even having like a black minifigure, like one of these, like some of the heads on these guys cost like $10, you know? And I'm like,
and you have to swap them out when they are talking and stuff.
Yeah. And I've got to have a ton of them. And so, I wish that Lego would have done more collaborations with the NBA, because then I would have more diversity in my Lego. But
yeah,
like it's tough, but I want everything to be just right. And so there's only like 6 different skin tones on Lego. So sometimes I'll get comments where it's like, oh, that guy's too white, or like Steph Curry's not that black. And I'm like, but Steph Curry is black though.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about the same guy. I didn't get the right skin tone. Like,
yeah,
you can't please everybody. So I like to troll the trolls sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I actually,
just for fun, but you can't do that a lot because you get caught up in it, and it's like, I really don't care. I'm like, it's cool, but I don't buy into like all of the praise either, because I'm like, I don't want to get a huge head and then think that I'm cooler than I am. I mean, it's pretty cool what I do, and I'm pretty grateful to be able to like do this for a living, and it kind of affords me opportunities that I never would have had, like being in the same room with Dave Portnoy, and then since then I've collaborated with Dave Portnoy, you know, and I love what Barstool Sports does. Like, say what you will about them, I think they're awesome, and I think they get it, and they're that's why you've seen them, that meteoric rise for them, because they understand their demographic.
Yeah.
And they're not super politically correct in a really politically correct world.
Yeah. Yeah. The wild thing is with your whole situation is you have doors open literally everywhere. So you don't really stall out ever.
Yeah. It's sweet. It is weird. It may get to that point for you too, where you're in places where you're like, wait, how did I get here?
Right.
You know, like, we're at the Masvidal fight and we're sitting ringside. Like, how? This is from talking.
You must have had so many of those.
There's been quite a few.
Because
and I don't want to sound ungrateful, but sometimes I forget even like really cool moments where I'm like, but then that thought will come back later. Like something will trigger that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did that too through this. Like that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. It's wild. That's why I'm telling you, you need to get into that MMA game, because they're the freaking only, besides golf, it was golf and MMA that was going, putting on events constantly every week. And so,
and that was something that I really that I appreciated about Dana White, is that he, like, talking about the PC world that we live in, he's like, I don't care what anybody says about me. I'm going to make sure these fights happen. And even though we missed out on what's Khabib fight, who was he supposed to fight? Like Kobe Covington or somebody?
He was, Khabib fought, he beat Justin Gaethje back in like,
he was supposed to fight somebody else though.
Oh, Tony Ferguson. Yeah.
Tony Ferguson. And that was going to be a really cool fight. I was excited for that fight.
It was the 5th time it was scheduled.
Well, and it was just crazy that it was, when it happened when it did, but I really appreciated that about Dana White.
Right.
And I think he kind of realized, hey, this is kind of a moment in time where it's like, we got to seize the moment here. This is, everything else is shut down. And if we can figure out a way to make it happen and give people sports when they're like craving sports, I think it's been really good for them. I'd love to do UFC stuff. I'm hoping that's the next thing that I do.
Well, because there's a guy that makes bobbleheads and stuff. He gets a ton of just love for it. And I couldn't even imagine if you did Lego stuff, because there's so many new up and coming fighters. There's constantly new guys, and it would just be so cool to shout them out and give them exposure, especially like with the platform you have too.
Yeah. Honestly, it would be cool to have to be on retainer, to do either stuff in golf or stuff in UFC, where it's like, Dana's just like, hey, Jared, can you make this? Can you recreate this moment? And then I'm just like set up with the tools to do it, where I can just make that happen and turn it around in a week. Like, I would love to be on retainer with some giant organization where they're just paying me like crazy amounts of money whether I make stuff or not.
Yeah, even killer promos with Legos or something, or not even. It doesn't even have to be Legos. I mean, you could just do cool videos, and it would.
Yeah,
just
that was the boxing stuff that there was talks about. We got pretty far down the rabbit hole for boxing for that big fight with what was his name? Who was the big fight that just
Fury
happened a few months ago?
Was it Tiafimu and Lomachenko or?
No, it was
Wilder?
the big lanky British guy.
Oh man, I'm not a big boxing. Is it Anthony?
I don't. The name's slipping me right now, but that would have been cool to do.
Yeah.
Promotion stuff for them.
Yeah.
It was a company in the UK, but it didn't end up working out. But UFC, I'd be down with doing even more so than boxing. It'd be cool to make like some kind of a
glove. Yeah.
minifigure hand.
Because it's already like that
UFC
kind of
glove.
Yeah, that would be so sick. If you could exclusively would it just be golf? If you could just exclusively do one, do you think it would be golf?
I don't know. The golf ones are the ones that take the longest
because the little ball rolling and stuff.
Usually it's like the fans that are involved.
Yeah, true.
To like build, like with basketball, I can have like a court where it's like I can switch it out and have like kind of the same stands and the same minifigures. With golf, it's like you have to recreate each hole that you're making, and it just takes so long.
Yeah.
But if I could do just golf, like if a company like Callaway was like, hey, we want you to just recreate moments from when our guys win. So when the players that play with Callaway clubs win, we want it redone in stop motion Lego for like the next week or whatever, or whenever they want it to be. Like that would be kind of a cool setup to be able to do stuff like that.
That'd be.
And I'm sure there'd be a ton of perks that came along with that. So it's been cool to work with the PGA Tour. That's somebody that I never thought would reach out. Even when I was doing stuff with the Golf Channel, I was like, it'd be cool to do stuff with the tour. And then eventually the tour wanted me to do stuff, and we've done 3 or 4 projects now, and hopefully more.
Have you developed any pretty close relationships with some of the golfers or players?
Yeah, a few. There's a few players that I mean, Dylan Fratelli was one of them. Yeah, actually, he's the one that sent me this hat.
That's sick.
He got like 5th place in the Masters and like just sent me this cool Masters hat.
Yeah.
But he's like a big Lego fan.
That's awesome.
And just kind of a Lego nerd, and he loves what I do. But he reached out a couple of years ago, like when I don't even think he was on the PGA Tour when he first like DM'd me. He just liked seeing that I was out golfing and like enjoying it. I don't take myself too serious, and I just kind of have fun. And he's like, that's the way the game should be played. And I was like, who's Dylan Fratelli? He had one of those little blue check marks by his name, but I think he even had like less than 10,000 followers. And I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
But then we kind of, we went back and forth in DMs, and we got to know each other. And now I'm probably going to go hang out with him in Orlando when I go next month for the PGA Memes Challenge.
That's freaking awesome. But yeah, I don't want to keep you for too long, but like, I want to thank you so much for coming on and stuff. It's pretty sweet because your whole story is just super kind of inspiring, I guess, because you weren't really sure what you wanted to do. Because it's kind of cool for somebody kind of like me who isn't 100% sure what they want to do, and then I don't know, because it's just a really cool story. I feel like, I don't know, it's just pretty sweet. But yeah.
Well, and if I can give advice to anybody like you, it's do what you feel like doing. Like the internet has kind of changed the game, and you can do whatever you want, and there's really no limitations of where it's going to go.
Right.
Like we're our own biggest critics, where we're the ones inside our head that are like, it's never going to work out. But if I would have never put out that Tiger Woods video, I would never be doing this.
Right.
Even like back to the Breaking Bad stuff, when I was putting out like really crappy stop motion videos, if those actors don't reach out from the show and say, you have to make more of these, I'm not doing this for a living. So it's like just that little encouragement from somebody who I thought was fancy at the time changed my life.
Yeah. And what kind of made you want to do? Yeah. One of my questions was, what was it about the Breaking Bad? Was it just your favorite show and you just wanted to play around with it?
Yeah, it was my favorite show. And I'd always wanted to do stop motion stuff, but I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I made those on Vine. So it wasn't even a stop motion app, but just
sick.
It was like a creative outlet for me. And then I think it was like maybe the second or third video that I shared got seen by some of the actors from the show. Yeah. And then they're like, you have to keep making these.
Yeah.
These are amazing. And they would share them. And so I'd get a little bit of a following. And I didn't really understand social media like I do now. This was like right when Instagram was letting you do videos.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like when social media was not at what it is now, it was early on. So there wasn't a ton of people doing what I was doing. It's the same thing with podcasts. Like now there's a ton of podcasts.
Exactly.
There still really isn't that many podcasts.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like if you find a podcast that you like, that's what you're going to listen to. And so if you can kind of tap into that demo and it gets you to where you want to go, like just try things. That's what I would say to people. Like if I didn't try, like I could have talked myself out of this easily, where I'm just like, oh, this is stupid. Like what, like 30-something-year-old man is going to play with Legos. Like I never thought that it was going to be something that I did as a 42-year-old man. You know, I didn't think that I would be playing with Lego. I mean, I call it playing with Lego. Like there is a lot of work that goes into it. And there's a lot of things that got me to where I'm at today, video wise. So it's kind of that broken road that led me to where I am today. There's like a country song about like, God bless the broken road that led me straight to you or something. I don't listen to a lot of country, but that is my story. Like this broken road has got me to where I'm at, to where you and I are having this conversation. And you know, this could turn into something where we're friends later on down the line, like 5 years from now, we're both sitting in the NASCAR Daytona 500
ringside
driver's room,
baby.
And you're like the Dave Portnoy, where I'm just like sitting next to you. I'm like, do you know who this guy is?
But yeah, the one thing I just really like is the fact that you talk about it like it's kind of easy. Cause I saw ESPN where you were on the phone call and the guy he was talking. He's like, there's definitely a lot more to it. You kind of talking about it, how like anybody could do this, but it's pretty sweet that you have that skill set where you can just focus in and do it, because no one really has the patience to do what you do. And that's what makes it so special, I think, because you can visually see the work that you put into it, you know, like it takes a ton.
I'll tell you one more funny story about that ESPN interview. That the guy, I don't remember what the guy's name is. I think he works for CBS Sports now or Fox Sports. He was kind of a jerk.
Really?
Yeah. I just got a weird vibe from him where I was like, I don't like this guy.
Yeah.
And so the interview didn't go well. So like my first time on SportsCenter
was not what you
imagined. Actually, my first time on SportsCenter was supposed to be with Jay Harris, Desmond Howard, and Kevin Nagandi. Those were the three guys that were supposed to interview me. But something went wrong on their end with their Skype. I think it was through Skype. And so I got bumped to ESPN News, which was this guy, who, whatever his name is, I don't remember. So I'm thinking that I'm going to be on like primetime ESPN SportsCenter with those three, who I think all three are awesome.
Yeah.
And I end up getting relegated to ESPN News with that dude. And he's like, and it's like a quick, like minute and a half interview where he's just like, you make this sound easy. Like he's like cutting me off when I'm like talking, like answering his questions. And I was just like, who is this guy? And I remember leaving that interview and I was like, that sucked. Like my parents were watching that interview in Canada where I was like, tune into ESPN. I'm going to be on SportsCenter. And then all of a sudden I'm like, never mind, tune into ESPN News. But it was still a really cool thing. And then like later on, I was able to get on like actual SportsCenter, and that was such a cool experience. But at the time I was like, that was my 15 minutes of fame and I had to deal with that guy.
That
like,
sucks.
This sucks.
Yeah.
But hopefully I meet that guy someday and I'll be like, I know you don't remember me, but it's funny. The full circle. Jamie Sayer was a ESPN Sports Center person,
Mm-hmm.
and she was the host when I got interviewed by Jay Harris the second time. It was her and one other guy. And then she was the host at the US Open. So when I was on US Open now, she was the one interviewing. And I was like, I remember her. I was like, that's the girl that went to Washington State. She's from like Montana. And so we like had that connection. She didn't remember me, but like before we even go on air, like I'm like, hey, I remember you. You know, and it's just funny how it all comes kind of full circle. And that was like 3 years later that she's interviewing me on US Open now. And my mom's like watching me behind the cameras. That was a surreal experience. That was one of my favorite experiences that I've had, was going to the US Open with my mom, just because she's such a huge tennis fan.
Yeah, that's freaking insane. Has it ever been difficult for you to kind of transition into the, kind of the fact that you're going to be behind the camera sometimes, you know what I mean? Or did you kind of just embrace it, or do you like it? Was it kind of an easy, smooth transition for you? Because for some people, I imagine it would be pretty difficult because it's not easy.
I mean, I like it. I like trying different things. Like I like dabbling in things.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I think, like, especially like college kids, it's like, try everything.
Right.
Like, if you want to take like a dance class or something to like meet some girl, or because you're following some girl to a dance class, do it. Like, who cares what your friends say? Or like, you may be a really good dancer, and maybe you'll be on Dancing with the Stars one day. Maybe you can be one of the judges. Who knows? You know, it's try things. That's one thing that I just wish that I would have done earlier on, is just try. Like, give yourself permission to do those things. And like, worst case scenario is usually not very bad.
Yeah. Exactly. No, yeah, that's what I try to do, is just no matter what, just try to put stuff out there, because you never know what'll pop. You know what I mean? That's the main key, basically. But
and I mean, you do have to be a little bit careful with the climate that we're in. Like,
no, yeah, exactly. You can't. Yeah, facts. Yeah.
And the stuff that you say stays, and sometimes it doesn't age very well. You know what I mean? Like, but we don't think about it at the time, because that's what's fresh to us.
Yeah.
Like us talking about the coronavirus at the time, we may look back on this and we may be like, I hope that interview goes away because we said some things we shouldn't have, you know? And the cancel culture is coming for us because it's something we said on a podcast.
Yeah.
Where we forgot that we even said it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it'll kind of shift the other way eventually, where it's like people aren't so hypersensitive about everything, and you can actually have an opinion, and you can have a differing opinion from somebody else and still have a conversation and still be friends with that person.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. That's the biggest thing.
Miss.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing, is whenever people just completely disregard other people just because of either surface what they have to say. You know what I mean? Because I have friends that we don't our kind of political views and stuff don't always align, but it doesn't mean you can't be friends. Like, we're both big Niner fans, and that's kind of what brings us together. You know what I mean?
Well, and even like beliefs, like you'll find people that don't have the same beliefs as you. Right. Even if it's not political, you know, and sports is something that I think brings a lot of us together. I mean, even just talking about UFC, like I've made so many friends just through that sport. Even back to, I remember the first UFC with Royce Gracie. My friend got it on pay-per-view.
Wild.
And it was like when they'd come out with the Royce Gracie train. I don't know if you've watched like old school.
No, I've seen like UFC 1.
But like I skipped my prep class for the ACT to watch that. And then I did terrible on the ACT, and I never thought I was going to get into college. But somehow I weaseled my way in.
Isn't it wild how far it's come?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's but ESPN prime time.
It was fascinating. I was fascinated by it.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, and it was, the tournament style back then was nuts. Like, it's not sustainable now.
The tournament style is insane because of the injuries and stuff now. You don't even take that into consideration. Guys will fight in such a short amount of time, but now people take months in between. But those guys were going back to back to back.
Like, yeah, and there's no weight classes. Like, you got Royce Gracie against like Ken Shamrock, and you're like, dude, this is a mismatch.
There's like a Taekwondo guy versus sumo wrestler.
It was. But even the fight, like even like the YouTube fighting that you saw, like a guy like Street Jesus, Jorge Masvidal come up on, you know, like I remember seeing those street fights.
Oh, Kimbo and stuff.
Yeah, Kimbo Slice.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, you know, R.I.P. Kimbo.
Yeah.
That was, I remember going down a deep rabbit hole watching those types of fights, and
It's wild.
those were some of the coolest YouTube.
Yeah. What do you make of the celebrity YouTube boxing and stuff?
Did I lose you?
No, am I here? No, but I agree with you. The street beefs and stuff, those street fights are insane. But
those were awesome.
Yeah.
I miss those street fights. But yeah, UFC, that's the one that I want to do next.
Yeah.
If Dana White is watching this, hook it up, Dana.
I'm trying to be the next John Anik, Brett Okamoto. So
you could be that Ariel Helwani.
Ariel Helwani, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a Canadian dude.
Yeah. No, you have to find a way to make those characters and stuff if you get into UFC, because I can already see it. You can have a little pan down to Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier going like, oh, after a crazy knockout or something. Like, it'd be so cool.
I have a friend who wrestled with DC back. They were at Nebraska, I guess, together. So I kind of have like ties to some of these guys.
Yeah.
Where
that's
like
so
if it ever happens, it'll be cool. Like it'll be cool to get. I never thought I would get immersed into the golf world like I am and having connections that I do.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be cool if UFC happened like that as well, because it would. Like I'm fascinated by what those guys do. I love Joe Rogan and I respect what he does a lot too. And so it's I mean that could be something that you like. Who's to say that you can't be one of those guys?
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Ariel Helwani, like.
I know.
He's just some regular dude that just loves it, and you can tell he's so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And he's the guy now. Like ESPN ended up hiring the guy.
Yeah. I envy those guys. Because it's so hard to and I've interviewed a couple fighters and they're really nice and stuff, but it's like, unlike you're because you're so open and stuff, some of those guys, it's hard to get stuff out of them. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't care who I'm fighting next. You know what I mean? Yeah,
I get that, but it would be hard, and that's the thing is it's like just doing things like every interview you do, you get better at what you do.
Yeah,
you know, and I read a book, the Third Door. Mm-hmm. I just read that book, and it was a guy that was doing interviews. He was trying to interview like the most powerful people in the world, like Bill Gates and people like that. Yeah, that's a really good book. You should read that book. The Third Door. It's Alex. Okay. I don't remember what his last name is, but it was really good. And it might give you some insights and ideas into like, and now I'm rejuvenated. But yeah, it was a really good book. There's a guy who started a podcast based on that book. Mm-hmm. And I was on that podcast.
That's sick.
And I'm like, dude, you have to get Alex on your podcast someday.
Yeah. That's
because he's the reason why he started it. But yeah, that's a really good book. The Third Door is a good one. It's kind of like getting into places where you don't belong, and it's a good one. You need to read that for sure.
I will.
That's your assignment.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely do.
That's your assignment. Read The Third Door. I want a book report on it.
All right.
By Monday.
All right.
Wait, what's today? Monday? Next Monday.
Next Monday. All right, I got a week to do it. But yeah, I
professor.
Huh? Yeah, I know. I really appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much. I don't want to keep you for too much longer, but yeah, thank you so much for doing this. And I hope that you want to come back on sometime, and maybe one day it'll be like my podcast will be bigger, you know?
I would love to come back on.
Thank you. Yeah. Cause we talk about NBA all the time, or golf. Like one of my friends is big into golf and everything. So yeah, it'd be really cool. Thank you so much again.
If I do stuff for UFC, I'll let you know, and I'm coming back on the podcast to talk about it.
Let's go. That'd be so sweet. Thank you. Thank you again so much for doing this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right. Thank you.